Well, welcome back. You're still watching Fut Afrique, the only show that allows you to discover the African continent through its football. We're talking about the Summer Olympics 2024 as far as women's football is concerned. As we know that CAF has 2 slots available. We currently have Tunisia and Zambia already in the next round, that being the 3rd round. The big question is who will be joining them. A lot are expecting Nigeria to make a return to the Olympics. Respectively, they've missed out on 2, right? And they played their first game up against Ethiopia, where things didn't go the way in which a lot of people expected. But let's also highlight the fact that this is the first time that Nigeria is playing since their round of 16 match against England in the World Cup.
It is indeed. I mean, but a good thing is that, they went a goal down, they came back and managed to get the equalizer 1-1. The final score was in Addis Ababa. So now meaning that they've got a return leg, which will be played in Abuja in Nigeria. So 1-1 scoring away is a very good thing for them in the qualifying phase. Achidat was the one that scored the goal for the Nigerians to qualify, for them to equalize. So they have an advantage going back home into the second leg of the second round qualifiers. The same story happened with South Africa.
Yeah.
They went a goal down. Nobody thought this was going to happen against DR Congo.
Yep.
But Banyana had their own problems going into this match.
Yes.
Remember, a lot of players pulled out injured. There's some players who were unable to join the squad. So you're expecting the likes of Jermaine Sopes, to only join the team ahead of the second leg.
Let's talk about that, right?
Yeah.
When we look at men's football, it's always a thing of there's an international break. You go do your international duty, then you come back, and then the season continues as normal. For women's football, do we find the international break existing for our side of the calendar?
It does exist. I'll give you an example. The reason why Nokomatlo couldn't join is because she's just making moves and she's still sorting out a residency in Spain. So for her to leave and come to Africa, she was going to have a problem going back. And Jermaine Sopos, remember, just moving to a new team. So they're playing a crucial match, so she had to play that game before joining the team. So those are small technical stuff that they actually had. Mamidi Sundowns have got a lot of players that are injured. Makubele is out injured. Rifilejani, we still know, is still injured. Mbane is still injured. Those are some of the players that are out because for those reasons. But those matches were set to be played within FIFA calendars. So there's no way a player cannot be available for selection unless they've got certain issues that are outside of the normal one to be able to travel. So there's a reason some of the players are only joining their teams at a later stage, or some arriving literally before kickoff. So that's the story because of, also logistic-wise. If you are based in Europe, for an example, trying to get to Africa, you just made a new move. The team requires, he says, can you please keep you? It's always a negotiation. It's a bartering deal to say, we're going to need you for bigger stuff. Do we allow you to leave now because you have this crucial game to be played? Let's just play this game, you're going to travel. Maybe there's no linkage of you getting flights immediately for you to be able to play your matches. But the good news is that the second leg, some of those players were not available, be able to play in that match. So it's going to be played at Orlando Stadium. So I've got to say it's a big one. Because
for both sides, actually.
It is indeed.
Right, yes, it's nice that they scored away from home, but the fact that they were being able to be held at draws, Nigeria and South Africa, that is a big deal.
It is indeed.
We possibly could be seeing DR Congo and Ethiopia, should they hold them to those draws at home, goalless draws. They will advance to the 3rd round. I want to continue the conversation. There's so much we can say about the Olympics, but let's talk about this illustrious competition, that being the brainchild of CAF as well as FIFA, that is the African Football League, a competition where 4 million USD is on the line. 4 million. The question that was asked is that, that every phase there's money, right?
Yeah.
So when you qualify, do they add on?
Yeah.
Really?
So if you're playing the first phase, 1 million guaranteed.
Got you.
Next round, which is the semi-finals.
Yes.
So those teams that got knocked out in this round, they are guaranteed $1 million. Those that advance to the next round,
it's the million plus.
And then they get knocked out there, is $1 million plus 700.
Okay.
So it's 1.7.
Well,
those who reach the final, 300 million for the losers, 303 million for the losers, I beg your pardon, and 4 million for the winners. So there's money all the way.
So it's absolutely more than 4 million for the winners, but the grand total is really something that every single team wants to get their hands upon. We had 8, now we have 4. Setting up an interesting semi-final, the talk of town, Mamelodi Sundowns Al Ali. I think before we talk about that encounter itself, let's talk about Simba, the opening fixture that took place at the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium. 60,000 human beings in one vicinity, just there for the love of football.
Beautiful. I watched that game. And the surprise that, Al Ali were made to sweat to get a draw in Tanzania. But the good news is they managed to do the job. You know, they got the 2 goals away and eventually played the second leg, which they played in Cairo, and managed to get a 1-1 draw, which was also very tight because Simba scored first.
I was about to say, the rise of Tanzanian football, yes, they may have not progressed, but the fact that they're able to hold the reigning champions to a draw, home and away, that surely says something.
But also, I mean, it is the reason, this is why the AFL is all about. The African Football League is clearly about the top creme de la creme of African football. So there's nobody who's there by virtue of being, I'm friends with whoever. They are there on merit. So you're always expected to have very cagey, very tricky affairs. I mean, I was at a presser for Sundowns when they were playing their game, and Coach Mofokeng was saying, you can see the level of football is something else. It's a different level of football because these are the teams that are champions in their own countries. And they're up against champions from other countries. They are proving that you're not there just to make up numbers. We've been chosen because we're the best of the best in Africa. Hence, they're able to play the way they're playing at the moment. And that's why the Simba Al Ali game was never going to be easy. It was always going to be a very tricky and cagey affair. Hence, Al Ali managed to score the 2 goals away, gave him a huge advantage coming back home. But they were shocked because Simba scored first, even when they actually went away. You know, Karaba, once again, the player that actually scored the goal, Pesitao missed the sitter, could have actually scored a goal himself, didn't find the back of them. But Sundowns in their game, having won against Petro de Luanda,
away from home,
I still believe that Petro de Luanda, that 2-year suspension, the 2-year ban affected them.
It really does.
Because
and you can see how they play.
The competitiveness was not there. Because remember previously, they came and actually drew with Sundowns in South Africa for them to advance to the semi-final of the in the quarterfinals of the CAF Champions League. So there's not the same team we saw. But they still managed to match Sundowns when they came to South Africa.
I mean, hold it there, Brian. There's so much that we're going to say about Mamelodi Sundowns Al Ali. Blockbuster. Old two foes meeting yet again. We'll also talk about what happened this past week. Rulani Mokoena celebrating 365, that is a full year around the sun, being the coach of Mamelodi Sundowns. Hey there, welcome back. You're still watching Fut Afrique, the only show that allows you to discover the African continent through its football. Every single Saturday, myself and Brian Mofokeng come together and we have conversations about this beautiful topic, that being continental football. We're asking you a trivia question. It's on social media. Make sure that you interact with it. This week, we are asking you, how many goals did Mamelodi Sundowns ladies concede in the year 2021 on their way to victory of the inaugural edition of the CAF Women's Champions League? Fairly simple. Brian, before the break, we're talking about the African Football League, a prestigious competition. Everyone wants to be part of it, but the run of Rulani Mokoena. On Wednesday, he celebrated a year around the sun with Mamelodi Sundowns as their head coach.
What a reign.
3 losses?
Yeah, you know, you also need to put that 3 losses into perspective. Only one was lost outright. The other 2 were actually lost by penalties. So it means then he has actually had a total of 14 draws, 1 loss and 35 wins. 70%. That is even better than the record that Paul Doleza had in 50 matches of 66%. That's just how much has been crazy. Because if you remember, he took over as the coach after they lost the MTN 8 semi-final match against Pirates. His first game, they just showed what they were all about. They won 5-0 against Maritzburg United. That was the first game he took over. But also add to that record you're talking about. There's been some absolutely brilliant runs in between.
It's been some beautiful football as well.
Gosh, I mean, it's just been something else. It's just been exceptional talent, but also the fact he's only 36 now.
Yeah, that is crazy. So some of the players who are actually in that Sundown squad are a bit older than him.
Yep.
But the respect that you see that they have for him, I mean, you've had a conversation with the uncle, and he's just said that my nephew is someone who's addicted to winning.
He wins, and nothing else, and he does not sleep. He sits and watches matches. I mean, I was sitting in the press and we was telling that he was actually sitting and watching matches until the early hours of the morning to dissect what is happening because of the amount of football that they need to watch and prepare, because he's already thinking ahead of before they even go to the semis as to what is going to happen in the semis, where they're going to play Al Ahly. Then beyond the semis, what happens? And then after that, they got to think about a CAF Champions League. What happens there? You know, what happens when they come back into the league? How they're getting stretched. All of those things are planned.
I mean, he already knows as to how they're going to tackle Al Ahly when they do meet in the semi-finals of the African Football League. Toby Mvala not being part of that squad. So clearly, Mamelodi Sundowns will also just want to continue with their dominance of their record against Al Ahly. As you know, in their past 6 games that they've played, Mamelodi Sundowns have won 3, drawn 2, lost 1.
Yeah, it's been a very good run for them of late. But I mean, also the good record of them playing at home. Al Ahly has never won a game in South Africa. Sundowns will want to continue that. You know, they played against Platinum Stars, they've lost here. Played against the Buccaneers, talk about that. They played against SuperSport. They never managed to win a game in South Africa. Sundowns will want to continue that legacy. The last time they met, you remember the 5-2 victory for Mamelodi Sundowns.
How can we forget?
At the Loftus Festival Stadium. Before that, they won a game away 1-0. Their first win against Al Ahly on the road, which was a huge win for them. You know, so they're looking forward to more of the same happening. This time around, they do return in South Africa. Looking forward to that one to see how that's going to pan out. But also key to that, Itu, it will be the 15th meeting between Sundowns and Al Ahly.
Crazy.
And also, it is the 6th successive season the two teams are meeting the CAF sanctioned tournament. So it just shows how much they know each other. The exchange of players as well. Pedit Pesitao on the other side. Pito Musiman having been there. So there's massive rivalry. So much at stake between the two. Percy sees Ronnie Mukwena as his mentor and father figure. I'm looking forward to the game.
I mean, it's a game that has so many narratives attached to it. One that Africans truly love, a blockbuster of notes. The date has already been penciled, and there's so much that we can say about it. But we have to close off with our final conversation, where we are going to talk about the CAF Women's Champions League. As we know, the 3rd edition is upon us. 8 teams will go head-to-head. 3 of those teams are returning contenders, whereas 5 will make their mark for the very first time.
Atletico de Abidjan, our host team for this year's competition. They played, by the way, in the WAFU B qualifiers, so they can be able to get game time. They finished 3rd overall. So they'll be looking to come out. They'll be looking to come out here and really prove their worth in the tournament proper. That's one of the teams that's in the same group as Mamelodi Sundowns, the winners of the 2021 edition, runners-up in 2022. They did say, the coach was sitting here, I'm sitting where he said, we want everything. Teka Nkwashu. Remember how they managed to win against UWC for them to return to the top of the Always Best Super League. So they're looking for the same thing to go back into the CAF, that is Women's Champions League, and do the business there. They have a massive one to deal with. ASFA still owes them. Other teams that are new, as you look at Group A in this year's competition, already mentioned that Atletic, that's one of the new teams. Also the team that come from the same region, or the same region where ASFA comes from. They're called Casablanca, SC Casablanca. If you look at the qualifying phase, some regions had 2 groups that eventually went all the way to the final. Some only had 1 group, which is the same as UNAF. That's why the UNAF only had 1 group. So the winner of the group automatically qualified for the competition proper. So that is why we see Casablanca, a new team coming in.
ASFA
they really did well. They really did well in the qualifiers, scored goals, won matches, did not mince their word as wise where they want to be in the competition. So that's why they're here. Sundowns did the business in South Africa as well. Among the top scorers in the competition qualifiers for Sundowns was a Sundowns player. They actually had a lot of players, 6 players in total. All scored 3 goals, but Ngoyi ended up being the top scorer because of the assist he also had.
The consistency of Ngoyi.
Ngoyi, if you look at that, they always talk about wine. she matures just like Wai.
Oh, man.
She does the job when it
Very
needs to be
physical,
done.
very poised.
Is indeed.
And you're not expecting her to come out like that, right?
It is indeed one of those we're going to talk about and say what Ngoi can bring.
Yeah.
People have been saying she needs to be back in Banyana Banyana.
I truly believe.
I believe she needs to be there.
Yeah.
You know, another new team we have, it is a JKT Queens.
From Tanzania.
Yeah, they came in and they ousted a team that is supposed to be there, TP Mazembe.
I think they were actually after AS Monday in qualifying, correct?
Yep. One of those that actually qualified alongside AS Monday. We'll talk about AS Monday next week. We'll actually focus on teams that are returning and those that are making their debut as well. But I'm so excited that next week we'll be sitting back and saying, let's celebrate women's football once again.
You know what? I want to put up my legs. I want to get something in my hand. And I want to just cheers with you because having allies and people like you just supporting women's football is exactly what we need. But save the date, yes?
Save the date. But before we say goodbye, let's say good luck to the Springboks in the final later on today.
Go Booker! But before you say Booker, the 5th to the 19th of November, that is when the CAF Women's Champions League is going to take place. But let the best team win tonight when New Zealand and the Springboks go head to head. Who will be lifting the Webb Ellis Cup?